Let's dive into Izzy's training so we can stay consistent at home. Whenever we're working with Izzy, we want to make sure that we reward the behaviors we want to continue to see. That will increase the rate of the wanted behaviors. We also want to make sure that we follow through with her training equipment so we can decrease the unwanted behaviors that we see from Izzy. So every day she should wear this training equipment. That way we can follow through and stay consistent so she understands that the training happens at home, not just here at the facility. So let's dive in. We already know about the prong collar, basically how to put it on and take it off. We want to make sure that we pop the links apart and then put the collar around Izzy instead of trying to slide it over her head, because this is going to make sure it fits the way it should, nice and easy. So then we squeeze the prongs back in, and we want to make sure that we can rotate the collar around, but we don't want it so loose that it's hanging off of her like a necklace. And then, of course, when we're going to use this collar, we're going to use it in a pop and release motion. So we don't want constant tension on this collar. So let's go over the heel command. Heel means walk next to me on a nice loose leash. So if she tries to walk ahead, or if she's not walking right next to us on a nice loose leash, we're going to tell her no, pop the leash, and then we're going to give her the command heel. And we'll go more into depth of the heel command here in a second. But how to use this collar, it's in a nice pop and release, not pull. So a nice no, pop, heel, and then we remind her of what she should be doing. Now when we're using the remote collar, we are going to use a push of a button. I'm going to first turn this thing on. So her collar has this little magnet right here, this little red dot. We're going to touch it with this red dot on the remote to turn on the collar. This is helpful because Izzy can't turn off the collar on her own by like scratching and hitting a button. So the magnetic key turns it off, and the green light means it's on. Now let's go ahead and turn on our remote. So the on-off button back here, the big one in the middle, we're going to push and hold that until the screen lights up. Now her level is at 25. This can change, but I'm going to go over all of that information at the very end of the video. We are going to focus on the black S button for now. So the heel command, heel means walk next to me on a nice loose leash. If she's not doing that when you give her the heel command, you're going to follow through by saying no, pushing that black S button, and then giving the command again. So whenever you take Izzy for a walk, 80% of your walk should be in that heel, that nice loose leash. She's walking at your pace. The other 20%, you can give her her release command free. Free means she can go sniff, go to the bathroom. We follow her keeping the leash loose. So we follow her pace in the free, where in the heel, she follows our pace on the left-hand side. So again, if she doesn't do the command that we're asking, we say no, follow through by pushing the button, and then repeat the command again, heel. So let's go over the other commands we have for Izzy. So sit. Sit means stay until she's told either free or heel. So for example, going through a doorway, we're going to have her sit and open the door. That way she doesn't just run through to go outside for our walk. We have some impulse control here, so we have her sit. We can open the door, and we can either say free and have her go through the door with us, or we can remind her sit with another verbal and then step out the door and tell her free to come with us. If she gets up before you say free, you're going to follow through by saying no, either give a pop of the leash and or push the remote collar and remind her to sit. Now the more distractions, I would probably use both to get her attention. So for example, if you open the door and there's a squirrel running outside and she gets up to see it, no, and I would probably use both. But if it's a minimal distraction, I would use one or the other. So then if she does sit, we want to praise, good sit, good job. We want to let her know she's doing a good job with it. Now, in the beginning, you will use a lot of rewards with Izzy because we want to make sure we build that reward history, that positive association of doing the commands at home with you. And then over time, it'll just be a habit for her. But in the beginning, we definitely want to make sure we reward when she does the commands that we're asking. So moving on to down stay. So down and place are similar stays. The big difference is place is on a boundary, like an elevated bed, where down means lay down on the floor. So down means she has to stay in that position, where place, she can move from within the boundary as long as all four paws stay on the boundary. So let's talk about down. So when you tell her the down command, she has to lay all the way down. If she does, great, good down. We're going to reward that behavior. If she doesn't, no, follow through, because we're only asking her the command once or twice. We're not going to ask and wait for 6 times for her to get it. So once or twice, depending on the distraction level, we sometimes give her another verbal chance before following through with the training equipment. And then when she does the command, we're going to say good down. And now when we want her to stay, instead of saying stay, we can give her the verbal reminder down again as we walk around or do our distraction. Then With down in place, we always go back to her to release her from the command. We don't release from a distance because that's going to keep the stay really strong. So whenever we're done with the exercise or we're done having her lay down, we're going to go to her. Good. We're going to reward the behavior, give her that reward, and then tell her free. So now moving on to place, when you're having guests come over, this is going to be a great command to use because it gives her a place to be with her having some, freedom, I guess, from within the boundary. So if she's excited, she can stand up, but she can't leave the boundary. Where in a downstay, she's not allowed to stand up. So we're using place like this. Pretend this box is place. And if her paws step off of the boundary, no, follow through. She has to go back to the boundary. Now, if she stays really nice and she does what she's supposed to do, we reward by putting the treat on the bed to let her know that the bed is the positive zone. And then to free her off, we go up to the place bed, good girl, and tell her free. We, again, don't free from a distance with this command, and this command is going to be great for when guests come over. Then we have come when called. So when we practice with Izzy, make sure you have a 30 to 50 foot leash on her as a safety net, especially if you're not practicing in an open or in a fenced in area. So if you're in an open area with no fence, have that safety net just in case. So you're going to tell her free. You're going to release her to sniff and wander around. When you're ready for her to call her back to you, Izzy, come. As she's coming to you, we're going to praise that behavior. Good girl. Have her sit, reward, good job, free, and she can do it again. This gives her amount of freedom, but we have that structure to get her back. Now, let's say she's really distracted by something. We're going to, no, you need to come the first time we ask. Now, if we have to use this tool to correct her or to get her to do the behavior that we're asking, we will still reward when she gets to us. That is kind of a contradiction because if she makes a mistake, we don't want to reward it. However, the follow through and correction happened out here. We are still the positive zone. So we want to make sure that we reward her when she comes to us. Unlike, for example, place, if she steps off and we have to fix her, we don't immediately reward because we don't want to reward the mistake. We want to wait a little bit, she stays, and then we can give a treat. Versus come when called, the correction happened out here. We are still the positive zone. Coming to me is still a positive thing. You're going to get your reward. Anyway, again, that goes back to positive reward history. Just building that history of something good happening for doing the behavior over and over again. So then if she still doesn't come back when you call by using the remote collar, you have that long leash to reel her in like a fish because coming when I call is not an option. You need to come when I call you. So then we have leave it. Leave it means don't grab that. So you can do this with food or items. You drop it on the ground, you tell her leave it. If she still shows interest in that item, you're going to follow through with the remote collar again or the leash and tell her leave it. Because dogs don't just automatically respect a command from anybody. They have to know that we all know the rules. So that's what this practice is for, to make sure that she understands that you know the rules and boundaries and you're going to, hold her to them. So then we have how to do her nails. So I would prefer if we use a slip collar because this is going to give us that guidance that we need to, guide her where we want her to go without creating any sort of correction, like too big of a correction where the prong collar creates a correction, this creates a correction, but I don't want to correct her for growling because growling is a great way to demonstrate that she's uncomfortable with something, that she needs space. We're not going to reward it by giving her the space, but we're not going to correct her for telling us her needs and where she's comfortable, where she's not comfortable. So having this on her when we're doing our nails or doing her nails is really important. So we're going to slip this on. It's going to fit nice and snug, easy peasy. We don't have constant tension on it when we're doing her nails, but if she growls and kind of gets a little frustrated and goes rah, we can go, hey, no, relax, and then we continue doing her nails because this is a work in progress. She's doing really great. However, she's still going to let us know if she's not going to tolerate it for that long. That's why it's good to break it up into little bits versus just doing all four paws at one point. When we're doing that, we need to put the muzzle on. So the muzzle needs to be on and she needs to have treats while getting her nails done. This is a two-person task because we want to make sure everybody stays safe. And I do a lot more of explaining of that in the video coming up where we actually get her nails done. So those are her commands. What you want to do at home is reward the behaviors you want to continue to see. Use these tools to discourage the behaviors you don't want to see. Have fun, stay consistent. And now we're going to show you Izzy's commands. Down. Good down. Good girl. Down. Good down. Good down. Good down. Good girl. Good down. Oh, dropped it. There you go. Free. Free. Good girl. Good job. Leave it. Leave it. So we are going to do Izzy's nails. First, I want to use a slip collar with her because we might need to use a little bit of leash guidance to get her where we want her. And I'd rather use a slip collar than the prong collar when doing that, because then it's not going to give her really a correction. It's going to give her more leash guidance. So first we're going to get her up on the grooming table. Come on. Good job. A little bit of encouragement, a little bit of leash if needed. Good girl. And then we are going to put her muzzle on. So she's wearing a 5 in the Baskerville style. We already have it sized to her, so it'll fit nice and comfortably. I'm going to grab some treats, and I'm going to encourage her to put her face in the muzzle. Good job. Once she finishes those treats, I'm going to go ahead and clip it. All right. So now as we're doing her nails, it's important to keep it positive. So we're going to be giving her treats while doing her nails, and we're going to use hot dogs that have been frozen, but they're cut in a long way so that we can put the hot dog in her muzzle without our fingers being in the muzzle. Because with normal little cut up hot dogs, hey, look over here, we have to actually put our fingers in the muzzle for her to get it. So if she gets a little sassy while we're doing her nails, we don't have our fingers right by her teeth. Emmy's going to hold her leash while I'm doing her nails. And if she gets a little sassy, we're going to say, hey, no, and use the leash to redirect her and say, we can't do that while we're getting her nails. But again, we're going to try and make it as positive as possible by giving those treats while she's getting her nails done. All right, so I'm going to start by just kind of petting her leg and then actually grabbing her wrist and just clipping one while she's getting that nice yummy treat. She gets the treat, clip, 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 clip. There we go. Good girl. Good job. So we give her just a little bit of a break because that, oh, you can give her a break for a second. Yeah. Because just that quick, we're already done with one paw. Now with black nails, I just like to trim the very tips, and I like to do this once a week. That way she gets used to it. You're not clipping them too short, but she's getting used to the feeling of the clippers going over her nails. So I'm going to pet her down her back. That way she knows what leg I'm going to next. I'm going to pick up this foot, hold it back, clip. Good girl. Clip. Good job. That way, again, this is a nice positive experience. We're just doing a little shave off. Good job. I did have to do one nail twice because it was just a little bit longer than I had expected. But this is making it to where she's having a good time and nail trimmings are no longer a scary situation. Good job. So we're just going to give her that little break. Now, it seems like she's getting a lot of treats, but again, these hot dogs are cut up so thin, it's almost like a piece of spaghetti. So we want it nice and thin. And then we put it in the freezer so it's not as droopy so she can, eat it. And with it being summer, it's a nice cold treat. So I'm going to work my way down to her next foot. Lift it up so I can see the bottom. Whoop! You're all right. Might have to support her a little bit. Good job. Good girl. No, you're fine. So they're a little growl, but that's okay. She gets that treat and we keep going. So maybe she didn't like that foot. That's okay. But we're going to end on a good job, girl. Relax. Good baby. So when she growled, we didn't give a whole lot of leash pressure because we're not trying to tell her, hey, growling's bad. We're just trying to say nail trims are good. Now, if she were to try and reach around and bite me, she's not going to be able to because of the muzzle. But if she did try and do that, Emmy with the leash would pull her head the other way. Good job. So what I'm going to do is just kind of pet a little bit. Pet that foot. Or pet that leg. Good job. While she gets a little bit of that treat. Good. You're fine. Yeah, you're okay. Sometimes it's better to split the nail trim up in half, maybe do 2 paws, and then the next day do the 2 more paws. That way she doesn't get so overwhelmed. But we don't want to let her think that growling means that we're done. You're okay. So again, just petting that leg. And it's good sometimes to just do this. Just kind of touch around her leg where she has issues, touch her feet while she's getting those treats to make it nice and positive. All right, so let's try and get this last foot done. No. So a little growl. Get her attention back on the hot dog. Once she's eaten that hot dog, then no, you're okay. You started off so good. We gotta end on no. You're okay. So let me know when the hot dog is in her mouth. No. So we've got one more nail. I'm not gonna give up because I don't want to let her think that growling.
Yeah, good job.
Good.
It's okay, look.
So once she finishes that hot dog, I'll put her foot down.
You gotta take it. Yep. Oh, good job. Good.
Good. And then no.
Can't end on a bad note.
Can't end on a bad note. So we keep that foot in the air. Now we can put it down. There. So it's not going to be a perfect experience every time. She did 3 feet really well. And then towards this the end of the third one, in the fourth one, she started to have a little bit of trouble, but not thrashing around. So what I would try and do is break it up next time where I do 2 feet, end the session. Next day, the other 2 feet. And every day, having her wear her muzzle, touching her a little bit, and giving those rewards is going to make a huge difference. Good job. So we take the muzzle off. Good girl. And then we'll have her still get a reward from the muzzle. Good job. And then again, just throughout your day or every other day, put her on a schedule where she wears her muzzle and you just kind of pet her legs, pet her feet while she's wearing the muzzle. So again, she gets treats and she has a positive association with having her feet handled and her nails done. And that's how we're going to do her nail trims for the foreseeable future. All right, let's dive into the other features of the remote collar. So we know how to turn her collar on. To turn it off, red light means off, green light means on. Again, it's a magnetic key. That way she doesn't push a button and accidentally turn the collar off. She should wear this every day. Every day she can wear it 12 to 14 hours a day. It is waterproof. Make sure to take it off after she gets wet. Not because it'll mess with the collar or anything, but because this has to fit snug for 2 reasons. 1, we want these contact points to make good connection with her skin. 2, we don't want this constant rubbing. So we want it to just be in one spot and stay there. That way it doesn't create irritation. But if water gets in there, that could create moisture, which could build bacteria, which could lead to a hot spot, which we don't want that to happen, right? So if she goes swimming, just make sure to take this off for a little bit, let the skin dry, and then you can put it back on. But first thing in the morning, just like putting on glasses or our watch, this goes on Izzy, on, ready to go. It should last about 2 days, like 24 hours on one charge. So if you turn it off at night, when it comes off, it should last 2 days. You can charge it like every other day. How to turn the remote collar off, or the remote off, I should say. On-off button back here, push and hold until the screen is blank. So again, you're pushing and holding, and then the collar's on, ready to go. The reason I say push and hold, and I kind of stress that, is because this is also a flashlight button. So if we tap it again, it's a little flashlight for her. So tap to turn off the flashlight. Just a nice, neat feature. So we went over the black S button. That is the 25 level stimulation out of 100. So not too high, right about average to get her attention, right? The red button is for emergencies only. So when you push this red button, it is because she is taking off for the road. She's chasing something. Her adrenaline's up here, where when her adrenaline's up here, Level 25 only reaches up here. The red button is going to add 25 to the level on the screen, so it is going to snap her back to reality. We haven't needed this for Izzy, but you have it for emergencies just in case. So it is going to increase that level to 50 to snap her out of whatever she's doing and get her back to reality and kind of, you know, put the brakes on if she's put herself in a dangerous position. This is not to use for nail trims or anything like that. This is for obedience-based training. Over here we have the T button. That is the vibrate button. What I like to do before I turn this collar on is push that vibrate button a couple times to make sure that I actually turned the collar on, because sometimes you accidentally touch the magnet to it and it shuts it off. So I do that. Now in the future, you can use this as a warning for Izzy. Like, let's say she's doing pretty good and she just made like a little tiny mistake, but it doesn't really, you don't think it's necessary to correct her with the stimulation. You can just say, hey, straighten up, do what you're supposed to do the command that I'm asking, kind of thing. But I wouldn't use it too much in the first couple months, because you want to make sure that boundary is really clear, that you're going to hold her accountable to all of these commands. Then, let's see, we have the M/C button back here. That stands for momentary or continuous. So if you look and I push and hold down the black S button, it's only going to stimulate that quick second. Continuous is a constant stimulation. So we use that in the beginning at a very low level to introduce what the collar is all about, to introduce the collar with treats. That way it's a positive thing for her. Now we only use it momentary as needed if she doesn't do the commands. Let's talk about her level. So right now she's at level 25. If you look at the dial right here, it is not going to adjust. This will at some point need to be either bumped up or bumped down. It just depends on Izzy. As she matures and understands the rules of the collar and understands the boundaries that you're going to put in play, she will likely not need a higher level. She will probably go down to like 20 or even 15 to get the point across. It just happens with maturity and with practice, holding her accountable to the commands and making sure she does them on your watch. So how to turn that up or down? Now, the opposite could happen where we take her to a more distracting environment and 25 just isn't quite enough and we need to bump it up to maybe 30 or 35. Same idea. How to do that? We're going to push down and hold it until the 1D at the top is flashing. Now we can adjust the level to where we need it. I like to go up in increments of 5 because it's a little adjustment, but not too crazy if we need to go up or down. So if you notice that 25 is fine, but she's starting to have like a bigger reaction to it, turn it down to 20. If 25, you're having to push it 100 times to get her attention, maybe we need to bump it up a little bit because the environment is a little more distracting. So we're going to lock it by pushing down and holding it. And now that 1D is solid and it should be, should be locked and set into place. Okay, this thing is rechargeable. So we have the charging port back there for the remote. And underneath the collar here. In this box, we have a bunch of extra equipment. So we have the charger that charges both the remote and the collar at the same time. We also have little extenders, but with Izzy's hair, she's not really going to have this thick poodle-like hair, so I don't really think the extenders are necessary for her, but you have them just in case. An extra lanyard. And then this is a clicker. You can use this in training. Basically what it's supposed to do is to help mark a behavior, and this is paired with treats, so she understands that if she hears this, she did something good and she's going to get a treat. Instead of having to have a clicker on you, we just say good or yes or some sort of praise, and then that's associated with the treat that she gets for the positive feedback. This is an extra strap. I really like the bungee strap with the quick clasp because that makes it just a lot easier to put it on and take it off of her. And then underneath here we have the manual that goes over all the buttons in greater detail, but we did cover everything. This does have a 2-year full warranty, so if anything happens, just either keep this box or there's some contact cards at the bottom. That way you can contact if anything happens to the remote, you can get it replaced. All right. So those are the other features of the remote collar. Again, we're trying to reward the behaviors we want to continue to see. That will increase the rate of those behaviors. If you follow through and stay consistent with the training equipment, you will decrease the rate of unwanted behaviors, and therefore she's going to be a really well-behaved and obedient dog. So have fun, stay consistent, and let us know if you have any questions.